Ladies and gentlemen, ATDF everything in that shelf presentation. You're now rocking with TDF everything. Spoiled rotten.
Spoiler alert.
Welcome and welcome back, everybody.
Hey.
It's me, Daniel,
And this is Ben
on Spoiled Rotten.
on that shelf.
Boom. We are here to spoil episode 3 of Secret Invasion Betrayal.
Mm-hmm.
Nope, Betrayed. It's called Betrayed.
Mm-hmm.
Probably. It's Betrayed, probably.
Yeah, we're questioning reality. As I guess most of these characters are right now. What's real? What's not?
Who knows?
I know.
Nick seems to think he has a... I keep calling him Nick, and this episode brought up that no one calls him Nick.
I know, that's...
Nick Fury, but it just comes easier to me. I guess I should be calling him Fury. But yeah,
I feel like full naming him, though. Like, you know what I mean?
Yeah,
like Nick Fury all the time instead of just like Fury.
Just
I don't feel comfortable.
Neither
like,
do I.
Fury
this is the
feels
problem
like...
I've come up against. And the show reminded me, well, if you're picking one, it's not Nick.
That is true. Yep, that is true.
Yeah, so basically the episode starts and I don't even know what this guy's name is. Pagan is handing out like the marching orders for the next phase.
Yeah.
Which is basically they're going to launch
covert operation, like hunt for Red October basic stuff.
Are you still hearing me here?
Yeah.
Okay, good. Sorry, for some reason it said I was signed out.
Very weird.
Well, that's staying in because I don't remember to edit it out. Yeah, so basically what were we talking about? Yeah, they're gonna launch a missile
from some people because of
Royal
deception.
Navy. The Royal Navy is going to do it, and it's going to be against another United Nations country. So
it's going to be like World War III. Let's go.
It will continue the tensions. That's the plan here. So the guy that we met in episode 1, that's like joining, and he's finally got his first mission. He's obviously a warrior.
Yes. And which, by the way, it's one of these things where I'm like, I know these people have comic book backstories, but it feels irrelevant to what is actually happening here. So I just haven't bothered to look into these actual backstories of these characters. But it's worth noting that they do have a different role.
I didn't think they did.
The Secret Invasion kind of timeline. Well, the same character names are used like differently, but it is what it is.
It's MCU, so I know.
It's like, oh, that's an Easter egg. Noted.
Yeah.
Cool.
Yeah. So then we see Gravik, and he is pitching to the council. He tells them what the plan is, that they're gonna what we just described.
Here's my machine.
He's like, and previously you had mentioned you were worried about what if the Avengers come. Well, guess what? We will become Super Skrulls, and we will no longer change faces. We'll change powers as well.
Yep.
And I remember thinking when he said that, like, and you know what's real about him is he's saying all of us will do it. He didn't do like a Killmonger where he's like, only me, and then everyone else can get fucked.
Absolutely.
He's like, no, it's all of us. We're all going to be Super Skrulls.
Yeah. But it's worth noting that it's because the Killmonger thing was like, okay, it's King as a title. But I mean, I 100% agree with you. It's just whether or not right now, where I want to say Dragic, because it's Gravik. Whether or not he has more like the super secret power just to himself and has given.
I think he just did it already.
No, I mean, like I understand that, but like he's giving selective powers to other people, being like, "Hey, you wouldn't. Here, I could do this with you," or something like that, or he gives everyone all the power. But I think we'll see.
I think the point of him is that he genuinely just wants Skrulls to. He's the Magneto.
To be the superior race.
He's Magneto. So
that's a good way of putting it. Oh,
I just want us to win, and I don't want them to win.
Yeah. Okay. Cool. I get that.
Yeah. I don't really read any kind of like.
You don't see sliminess in him, eh?
No. I think that he was promised something, and then the person who promised that vanished, and he's like, "What the fuck am I waiting around for? I'm gonna get what was promised to us."
I will say he is very motivated. He's very genuine. I believe everything he does in this.
Yeah, I don't really think he's trying to like pull one over on other scrolls. I think he's just like him and Talos don't really want scrolls to die, but he's also kind of like, if you're not with us, you're against us. That's the difference between him and Talos. So he's got to put down anyone that's against him. But yeah, I called it the Dalton machine. I don't actually know what it's called, but that's like where this scene takes place. And I assume he's already got his powers, because the next time you see him, he uses the Extremis powers. But so like, we didn't see him do it, so I'm just assuming he already did it.
That's my assumption too. Is like, it works.
And
I'm very confident.
I think it's that way as well. Like, I won't. I mean, again, you and other people might read like, oh, he just wanted the powers himself. But I do read it like, I believe in this so much, I'll just test it on me and see what happens.
Well, I mean, either way, it's he's clearly got the powers already, and
no, I'm just saying his motivations to get tested first, as opposed to like most villains that are like, oh, like a Green Goblin, like, okay, I'll do it on myself then if no one else is gonna.
Yeah, I'll volunteer.
If it's not safe to test on people, I'll do it.
Yeah,
that's how much I believe in it.
Yeah, and we have to find a way to accelerate the process, so to speak, right? It's like, what are you going to do? Say that I didn't volunteer for my own thing if he ever gets caught. But it's good logic. Yeah, I like the thing here.
So there's probably going to be some disruption here, but either way, we were talking about him taking the powers, and he's got them now regardless, after that conversation or before that conversation. Then we jump to 1998, and the show kind of is just like, no, he knows that he's married to a Skrull. So this is kind of their agreement to live as Priscilla and Nick Fury.
And this is what I was thinking the other day too. It's like, maybe it's a boundary thing or a preference thing, that when he enters the home, he has to wear the ring, and she has to be human form. Like, for him to be attracted to her. I don't know, but either way, it's just,
he made it seem like he came there looking for her in Skrull form, and that she just wants to do this. Like, she was
in this episode, 100%, yeah. Because in last episode it ended.
I just feel like that's what it is. Is that he came being like, "Hey, like, I'm not. I don't think he's an idiot. I think he knew she had changed into Priscilla, but I think he was like, so not looking for you.
Yeah.
Like, well, this is who you're gonna get. And so I think that's just, and I think the same way we haven't seen Gravik change back. Like, I think these are just the Skrull that were like, yeah, we're here on Earth, so this is how we look, and it makes our lives easier. Yeah, and maybe she was a Skrull before he came in the door because of what she says later, where she's like, I had to become this to like get through the pain. But I think for her, it's just like, yeah, when I'm with him, this is how I want to look. Yeah, because that's what the conversation meant to me. That like, she was like, this is my decision. I want to look like this. And he was like, okay.
Yeah, sure.
It made it, I mean, to me, my assumption was that the attraction came before she looked like that.
100%. To me, this is Fury being attracted to someone. I mean, it's got to be
not necessarily a look.
Exactly. It's not a look. It's a connection thing more than anything else, right? Fury being very selective with who he keeps company, you can assure that he keeps company that he wants to actually keep. And he's a different person around her. He's a different person. And well, I mean, in this entire series, but he's just.
But I agree with you that he's lighter with her than other people, even in a series where he's not lighter, but not as hard edged as we've seen him, because either he's softened from his existential crisis, or because he's with a person he loves. Right? Yeah, I guess I don't know if you call her a person, a being that he loves.
And the idea of just like the fixation on the phone. Do I respect that boundary of hers and all that kind of stuff? Because like Nick Fury or Fury in his role would be like, no, I don't care, I'm getting that information. Like, it's, you're dumb, like, but here it's just like, no, I'm a person, I'm respecting someone else's boundaries that I respect. And I'm like, this is interesting to see. Like, not only is he softening his interrogation tactics, he's directly asking the questions. He's being very blunt, but at the same time soft within what we know of him.
Just to give people like a bit of thing, the scene is that he is home and they have some banter over like, oh, can you I forgot eggs cooked differently up in space or whatever, but she, and I think basically she says, what made you come back? And this is now like the fourth person being like, it really hurt that you left. And I keep seeing people be like, this show's not really that good. And I'm like, I feel like it's breaking. We've said this on the first episode. It's doing something different, which is actually not being flippant about the actions these characters take. So like, it isn't Tony Stark making a joke about like, and then I had to keep making machines, and then I never really wanted to stop. It's the person who's made these decisions being called out for it. And like, maybe you could say how many times we have to see that, but I think you need to see it as many times as people he's hurt that he's going to interact with.
Yeah, the meaningful interactions for sure.
Yeah, and because I also saw someone be like, oh, this show would be good if it wasn't about Nick Fury. And I'm like, and their problem was because he's a bad guy and the show's not interested in that. I'm like, except for every single scene where someone's calling him out for being a terrible person to them.
Yeah.
I don't really, like, I guess if I'm not going to be obtuse, maybe they want him to be like evil. And I'm like, but that's not the character of Nick Fury either.
They want Fury to be evil? Is that, that's weird. I don't.
Like,
he's just an incredibly selfish and egotistical, narcissistic asshole.
Yeah,
but
this person on Twitter was just like, "Oh, like this could have been a good show if it wasn't about Nick Fury." And I'm like,
I just feel like this person doesn't like watching accountability happen.
That could be it. But I think that the show has picked exactly the right person to someone who thinks. And this comes up later, but someone who thinks he can get shit done on his own, and then is being constantly reminded of how much help he actually has, and how many times he actually does need to lean on someone, his wife, his friend Taylor, his partner Maria Hill, his superhero friends,
squad of Skrulls,
So I. Other than the obvious, it's a black lead, so people get turned off.
Right.
I'm not really sure what people are expecting from this show. Like, the serious complaints I see about it, I'm just like, okay. Like this one, I'm just like, I don't know. Like, it is showing him as a bad person. Like, he is being called out, and you're watching him have to deal with it.
Yep. And I mean, it's cathartic for me to watch him have to deal with it. I think the part where I do agree with them a little bit, that criticism where it's like, it's just talking, is the idea that he hasn't actually so far that it's just him talking or whatever it is, right? Not you, but that criticism that you're talking about.
No, I'm saying they never said it's just talking.
What was the criticism?
That the show's not interested in showing him as a bad guy.
He is being shown as a bad guy.
Yeah, that's what we're saying. Yeah,
this is just after hours. I don't want highlight reel bad guy all the time. You can't live with a show like that. Are you kidding me? Nick Fury just constantly kicking down doors and like doing what did they expect? He's got a limp that he's trying to pull off inconsistently with different people, obviously. And it's just like, we're reminded of how old he is, and we're not privy to that information. He's showing the battle scars on his face now. He's weathered, right? He's trying to make people uncomfortable with his kind of situation, I guess. But it's fascinating to watch this. In the part where I'm a little frustrated with, I guess, is that I haven't seen his behavior change in any kind of way. There hasn't been like, I'm sorry, or this or this or this. It's just been him being like, I saw it this way. Other people being like, no, that's incorrect. it was only that way to, if you choose to see it this way, here's what happened behind the scenes on our part. And they're very right to say that. And it's just, he hasn't done anything differently yet or apologized in a significant way, which not that he can. It's, and we'll get to this, but when he goes immediately back and he gets called out again by Ben Mendelsohn's, by Talos, so like, wow, you're really back here again.
Yeah, that's, I guess what I mean is it is showing him as a bad guy. Like he's not doing the right things and he's being called out for it. But yeah, the wife says like, oh, so what made you come back? And he's kind of like, well, you want me to like apologize for leaving? And I like her wording. I don't know if I took it down exactly, but she's basically like, I never harbored any illusions about the necessity of you going away. It's the staying away that leaves a mark. And that's what people have been saying. Is that, yeah, you're Nick Fury. I understood that when we became as close as we were. Yeah. It's just the fact that like you blipped and then ran away. Yeah. That is what's always going to be the problem for everyone. It's not that his, well, I mean, she perfectly says it, right? His defense is like, you're used to me not being here. And I'm like, that's not a good defense, dude. It's not. And this is like bad guy 101. I'm like, yeah, your argument's weak. Everything about it's weak. It's selfish. And you know, I personally love it. I think that's the point of the show. Is like, oh, like he doesn't know, he doesn't care how dependent he is on people, or he hasn't had to consider it. Right. He takes all these people for granted, and he's never had to deal with it. And now that he's in this weakened state where he is reevaluating everything, or needs things from cutting people through now. I don't know if these people would have said this stuff before, but these are obviously very specific circumstances that they're saying them under. Right. And he's basically like finding out about himself like through these interactions. And I think that's what I want from these shows anyway. If we're going to be spending the time through a show, this is what I would appreciate from them. Yeah, because the Secret Invasion stuff, it's still going on, and we're just talking about the Fury scenes, and that's it. But it's the Fury scenes that are most psychologically fascinating to me, because his reaction. So that makes sense. So that you would be like, I'm interested in the Fury stuff. But if other people are just like, I want superhero stuff, and I'm like, but him doing bad guy superhero stuff as Fury is not like, that's supposed. He's still doing it. Like, he is. He's just not successful. Up a bunch of Skrulls this episode in front of the guy he knows doesn't want to kill Skrulls. True. Very, very true. Anyway, yeah, I like that. And basically, he's like, "Well, have you been in touch with Gravik?" And I think this is why he didn't answer the phone. Is that what she told him was like, "I'm not answering that," and also like, I became what I needed to become when you left. Like you didn't want to work on anything when you came back, and you ran away. So like, you can take from that whatever you want. And I feel like he's like, what's looking at that phone gonna tell me that she didn't already tell me without telling me? Like, I already know what that is. Yeah, I don't need to go on the phone. That's the tell me something I don't know about Susie moment. He's like, okay, got it. Like, and you left it there, so it means that like, I already know I already know the answer to that. Yeah. Nothing new is going to come from opening that phone. It's that's it. Nothing new or good is going to come from opening that phone. It's a wonderful, wonderful scene. She's a wonderful actress carrying out such an amazing, amazing delivery of like, this is everything it felt laid out. And I became I think the most impactful thing about the scene was the part where she goes like, I became the version of me that existed without you, like, you know, all that. And I'm like, that's amazing. Like, that's it, you know. It's great. Some good stuff. Then there's the scene of Gravik grilling Gaia about like, how did that guy know? Like, how did the police know where we were? She's doing a bad job. She's a good liar, but I'm like, she's doing a very bad job lying. It's hard because I know she's lying, and I'm just like, of course, it doesn't feel like you're giving this much effort. Like, like she does feel kind of like whatever, man. Just believe me. I don't want to get into this. Just believe me. She's like, no, it was him. Don't worry about it.
Well, I mean,
he made an educated guess on where you were. It's him. Don't worry.
Here's the thing I love about this, what she's trying to do here. She's trying to like increase her credibility by putting him down, by being like, see, this is the difference between me and him. He would actually give you credible information versus I would lie. And I'm like, oh, I see what you're trying to do there, but it's not working. And if you think it's working, you're dumb. Like, and she thinks it's working, so she's a little naive and dumb.
Feels a bit cocky because she has been giving her dad information, but I feel like you did that, and then they gave you bad information, so you should probably know they're on to you.
Yeah, it's just like, oh yeah, she thinks she can just keep doing it and not get caught, and I'm like, you're treading some very, very dangerous waters right now. So, you're bleeding in shark waters.
Do much for me. I was kind of just like, oh, okay.
This is
so you're not really catching on to the fact that they caught on to you.
Yep. I'm like, you're completely oblivious to this.
Or they didn't show me like a scene that we get with Nick Fury where she's genuinely like, fuck, like I'm fucked. Like
like those park breakdowns or bench breakdowns. Like she doesn't have anything like that. She doesn't panic and text him or anything like that. She's just I would
knock the show for that, because like I mean, you got to kind of show that this is doing something to her.
I think the only thing that's in defense of this character is how young and naive she is.
I mean, I think it's just a problem with the show. Not
it's her first rebellion.
Yeah.
I mean, it's not her first. It is her first rodeo. It is literally.
Okay, then we see Talos and Gravik meet in the museum, which I love.
That is a great parlay scene.
Yeah, he's kind of like, I would rather my story be written in blood than ink and paint.
Yeah, and compares the leaders and all that.
And he's and Talos is like, so like you and everyone else's blood, and he's like, absolutely. And he's like, you're a little bitch. What's wrong with you? Why would you do that? And I think that got to Gravik, because Gravik's like, you wanted to talk. Let's talk then.
Yeah.
Like he loses cool for just a bit. Like that did get under his skin. And then
because he doesn't want to think about losing.
Yeah, he gets back at Talos with the whole like, guys in the car, you want to guys say hi, and that's what gets us that big scene from the trailer where Talos goes to strangle him and all the different graphics show up.
Yep.
Which I guess it's a cool image.
Yep. It's obviously ruined by the trailer, but I mean, it's still very cool within the scene. It's very effective because it's also the idea of like, oh, he's badass. He stabbed the hand. He went right there, and then he's like,
that didn't happen yet.
What? Right. But it's yeah.
But yeah, so they basically, Talos is like, yeah, so like, this is a bad plan because they're not gonna let you keep doing this. You didn't really think, like, you didn't think it through because you hate humans, but like you're putting them in a position where they're gonna excel because that's like they're most formidable when they have a common enemy.
Yep.
And
they're xenophobic. That's what they do.
Gravik is like, wait, no, have you forgotten how we fight? And then Taylor's like, you think I'm gonna let you keep doing that? Of course not. Like, no, they're not. I'm gonna tell everybody what's happening. And Gravik's like, well, then you're gonna be the reason we die. And I think this shows Talos' naivety to what he's like, no, because they'll see the difference between me and you. And I'm like,
oh, God, yeah.
No, they won't.
Yeah, no, he's
not
that's
everyone.
Where I'm like, oh, God, are you saying that to say it or do you believe in it?
No,
because
I think he believes it.
At this point,
I think that's his whole point, right? Like, that's why he got kicked out. He's like, no, we don't have to kill them. We can live with them. And they're like,
no, we want this. Or we don't want to share.
They agree with Nick Fury. They just are on the side of kill the humans.
Yes.
Anyone who's following Gravik anyway is like, no, he's right. There's not enough tolerance for both of us, so they gotta go. But yeah, Gravik kind of just doubles down on his whole like, do you see how they treat each other? Like, this is not a big deal if we kill them off. They're terrible to each other. If they were gonna do it anyway, we might as well get the planet out of this and do it quickly
before they screw up the rest of it.
Yeah,
and that is a good point. I mean, just like the idea of like what? So
although
we just let them.
Seems like they can live in nuclear fallout, but yes, it would be
well, assuming it's nuclear fallout.
Yeah.
But if you take over a planet, would you rather it be green and lushy, or would you rather it be ashy and fiery?
I don't know what Skrulls want.
True, but I feel like because they can eat at least vegetables that we've seen, they would want plants.
But yeah, he brings back the whole like you're lucky I don't send your daughter back to you in a body bag. I was like,
Yeah.
jeez. And that is when Talos is like, all right, stabbing you in the hand, I'm choking you, and for the rest of time, keep my daughter's name out of your mouth. And you're like,
Mm-hmm.
all right, Talos. And that's when Gravik rips his hand out of it, and you see the extremis effects as he
Yeah.
thing, which unless he blows up, also means that they perfected the extremis thing,
Or found a
that
low enough dosage, maybe.
yeah. Either way, they perfected the way of using it the way it was intended, which was to heal people.
Yes. Yes. And we'll see if it gets weaponized. I'm pretty sure it will.
I'm sure it's gonna be the fire thing because it's
Yeah.
supposed to replicate the Fantastic Four. So like
Yeah.
Groot is stretchy, Extremis is fire.
Yeah.
Call
What's
it
the
Obsidian
invis?
is like I can only assume that Frost Beast can go invisible. Otherwise, I don't really know.
Oh, right. I think Frost Beast can go invisible.
I don't know if they can, but I'm just assuming. And
Mhm.
also, since there's no Fantastic Four, they don't really need to stick with it actually being Fantastic Four,
Right.
beat for beat.
Mhm.
But it seems like they got 3 out of 4 out of the obvious. Like Cull Obsidian could very well just be a rock thing. Like
100%.
yeah. Yeah, so that's the reveal that
He got
Gravik
powers.
has got the powers, and then we see that really playing it fast and loose. Gaia changes into the old man to give Talos another burner phone, and barely gets back to the car before Gravik sees her, and I'm just like, jeez, good for you.
She's playing it risky. Very, very risky.
Okay, Nick Fury. This is the Nick Fury, not just Nick, and Talos scene where I feel like, yeah, Talos did a good job of being like, you got a lot of balls coming in here asking for help after what you said yesterday.
100%. That felt so good to hear him. Just like the whole dialogue he delivered there, amazing.
Yeah, and I loved his
Jump
reaction.
straight to it. Yeah,
I love. Well, they're like, basically, he's like, no, if you want my help again, you need to apologize, and you need to say, help me. Well, he doesn't say you need to apologize. He just says, no, just admit that you need my help, which I think is kind of what they're getting at in this whole show.
Yeah,
is that Nick Fury doesn't work alone. No, as much as a lone gunman he wants to be, he doesn't work alone. And let's just admit you need my help, and that you're nothing without me, like, or you're useless without me. And I love when Nick gets up initially and just the disappointment on Talos's face as he thinks he's gonna walk off. Like there's just it doesn't last long, but it's there of like, I can't believe it. Like this I would have been right back in with him if he had just done this. Like, and then when he says it, there's like that like I read it as like he feels like happy for himself, like good, like the way that he's like straightened up his back and everything's not lunged over anymore as he hears like, help me, Talos, I'm useless without you. And just the way he's like, yes.
I mean, 100%. There has to be smugness after you've gotten the exact request that you wanted. After a lifetime of not getting anything you wanted
from this guy
someone
who, as you said, like doesn't really give an inch to anyone, even when they're calling him out that he got this because he needed they're really good friends.
Yeah, they're really good, and he just like absolutely, he's legit at the end of his rope. Like just even his own wife is on the other side now. Like that's crazy.
Yeah, I mean, but I'm talking more just in a vacuum, like their friendship and what needed to happen there. That he recognized. Yeah. There's no room for me to play Nick Fury here. I need to be Talos's friend.
Yeah. But he's still trying to be Nick Fury, and I love how Talos he tried, and he's just like,
I think he stopped.
Yeah, because he's still slimed. Because that's why I was like, the moment I see him trying, it's like, but you see, there's information. I'm like, see, there's the slime, bud. You're sliming, and I'm just not. And then he gets called out again. I'm like, yes, I'm loving that. It's good.
And then so basically, Talos is like, yeah, Gaia is the one that gives me the information. She told me about the sub, and then we get another great back and forth with Sonya and Nick Fury, where she's like, whoever this is, you shouldn't have this number. And that she found out that he bugged her. And she's like, I'm mad at you, but whatever. Here's the information you're asking for. And I just like that. She's like, and should I tell him you're coming? Yes, you should tell him that. Good stuff from her. A very quick scene.
Always.
Clears up some stuff about like, because I've seen people be like, no, she definitely knows. That was staged. I'm like, I don't think she knows. I think the point was she thinks so little of him at this point that why would she assume that he could get anything up on her?
Yeah.
And then
it's
she
just
found
like,
it.
Yeah. And you're like,
I would say it would be bad if she never found it. Was she like, I
that
don't
would be
think she would
terrible.
yeah, but she wouldn't assume that it was there right away. I think she's like, oh wait, he bugged me.
Okay. Yeah, because there's no way she would be able to find it, or it wouldn't be found by like a house cleaner or something
or just
like that.
Because she knows like the nature of her business. Like she like check. She might not know it's from him. I'm assuming that's why they're showing her working on it and like X-ray and being like, oh, this is his shit.
This is shield tech or whatever it is.
Yeah. But yeah, I think people said it's bad if she doesn't know, but I'm like, I just think the whole point is you're supposed to see people being like, Nick Fury isn't shit right now. And then gladly just dropping it, just being like, yeah, he's an idiot and I got one up on him. Yeah, and then she found it, so it still saves her character from being an idiot. I think that works well.
I think it works absolutely very, very well. And she's playing her own game too, which is like, I always remind people of that when they're like, hey, why'd she escape him? I'm like, she's playing her own game. It serves a purpose. Just wait. It's chess.
Yeah, why not let them do this if she can't get that? If she said, I'm busy right now, like the way you guys fucked shit up, I'm clearly compromised because someone came when I was doing my interrogation. So like I have stuff to deal with right now.
Yeah.
Go ahead and do this for me. Yeah, you do this. One less thing I have to worry about.
Yep.
So yeah, she does that, and then comes, I think, what you're talking about, which is Nick getting called out again. And this is, I guess, the conversation that made me like, oh, this is the show. Like, I think this is the show. Is just like, Nick Fury, please stop acting like you don't need and like access help all the time. Yeah. You like nobody does whole, like I need to do this on your own. It's like you've never done it on your own, so why would you be able to do it on your own now? Of like, oh, you know, like I've been cleaning up your shit since we met, and he's just like, how could you possibly see it that way? Like, yeah, like you can't. He's like, and he says, I'm not even asking you for like a thank you or a sorry at this point. You just can't be rewriting history to my face. Like I'm the guy that helped you write it the first time. You can't rewrite it to my face like that. Don't disrespect me like that.
It's literal gaslighting. It's literal gaslighting. It's just like, wait, what? No, you got the promotions, yes, but because we couldn't. You're literally,
no, not that we couldn't, just because we did what you asked of us. I don't think he cares about promotions. That's his idea was we're going to be going.
I disagree. He described himself as an up and coming, and then Talos rightly calls himself. I was like, really, you up and coming at that point in time? And then
I thought you were saying Talos couldn't.
No.
Yeah, okay, no, then we're saying the same thing. Yeah, they're getting him the promotions.
100%.
I thought you said the promotions that they couldn't get.
Well, I mean, logically they couldn't because they still had to hide the fact that they're Skrulls. But I mean, Ben Mendelsohn's character got the promotions there too, clearly, in Secret War, in Captain Marvel, because he was already in, right? But I mean, they don't need to get promotions; they can just replicate anything. It's just the idea of we're still being fugitives and hiding here versus we want to find a home. It's very understandable. It's good. It's him being called out on his delusions. It's great.
Yeah. And
it's great.
I think that, again, goes against the whole they're not willing to show him as a bad guy. It's like what do you think is happening in these scenes?
Yeah. Because, well, I mean, he retired. He's
not a mustache twirling like villain. But he is a bad person. Like there is
absolutely.
There's no doubt about. Like I don't think that you could possibly watch this and be like, how come they're making him look like such a hero? It's like, no,
he's always
every
been that.
scene is basically dedicated to like how shit he's been to the people that he depends
Yes.
on the most.
Yeah, absolutely. And it's wonderful because it's just like, oh, you're destroying my idea of Nick Fury. I'm like, no, he's still capable of doing badass things that you recognize. It's just that this is like legit his life that he needs to deal with now because everyone's moved on and doesn't need him or doesn't rely on him or is done tolerating his shit. And people have better boundaries now. And it's great to see. It's wonderful. I don't get why people are not liking it. It's weird
As I
to
said,
me.
I think there's the obvious. It's based
They want.
on a black character.
Well, yeah, yeah.
I think that it's what funny enough that we're talking about this area of MCU, but it's what Brie Larson was talking about.
Mm-hmm.
Like, it can't just be the same people watching these things and critiquing them or like getting the opportunities to speak to us because this speaks to more than just, and I would say white women and white men, not just the white men. Like some of them are like, I can accept that people will skip over the Rhodey and Nick Fury conversation for what that brought to light in terms of what happens intra-racially, not inter, but intra-racially, because they're not black. But to completely miss that something interesting is happening in that scene and just be like, meh, I don't know, this show's kind of boring.
I wish people would say that they're
speaks to, like,
uninterested in the material rather than that it's boring because it's definitely not boring. It's so much
I think
there.
it just speaks to people not being able to connect unless it truly is someone that looks like them.
Well, yes, and 100%, and yeah, that's 100% true. It's usually how I feel with most stuff with Asian leads, you know, and why there aren't much stuff watched by North American audiences with Asian leads. It's the idea of like I can't connect with him. I'm like, well, that's the ride along movie coming out this weekend. Apparently, has a lot of those reviews
Joyride?
of Joyride, is coming out, and they're like, oh,
or like
this
Turning
river,
Red and stuff,
yeah,
and you're like, all right.
it's like we see what you're doing.
2023, like relax, like you
You're
can't.
just
say
finding
that
more
anymore.
creative ways to be racist in front of people. That's all you're trying to do, and trying to sound intellectual about it. I'm like, no, hate is hate. We see through it. It's
but
stupid.
Yeah, I think there is hate and then just general ignorance on like what's going on, and I think that's as much as I say because I think there are. I've heard things about the next episode that will disprove what I'm saying, but I will go off of just what we've seen so far.
Sure.
I can see people having an issue with killing off Maria Hill to motivate Nick Fury and having it doubled down on by having her mom be like, she died because of you. I can see people being like, oh, brother, that sucks that it was like the literal definition of fridging a woman. And then killing I know we're jumping ahead a bit, but killing Gaia at the end of this episode, I can see that being like to pull that card twice. That feels like good. That feels like a genuine criticism against the actual content of the show, and like watching it and being like, I don't like this. I can see that.
Yeah, and the disposability of women characters in this, 100%.
We'll
I
get
agree
to that, and I won't talk about what I've heard. We'll just base it on what we've seen. And how that sucks 100%. But yeah, basically, we talked about it. Don't rewrite history. Talos gives Nick Fury the business. He goes in, he messes up, he gets caught, and Nick Fury takes out a bunch of guys, which Talos doesn't say anything about, but I think kind of, as you said, it's Nick Fury not really progressing from these conversations he's having.
Yeah. He's not doing anything different. He's killing them. He's not incapacitating them.
I will give it till the end of the show. But if he doesn't change,
100%.
That would be unsatisfying if he doesn't change at all. But I do think, and I'm not saying you're saying that's a fault of the show yet. I'm just saying I'm at the point where I'm like, he's not changing. Let's see where he's at the end of the show. I'm still enjoying him being called out, but I like this moment where Talos goes in. You don't see him, but you just hear him over the thing. Oh, I was busy kicking this guy's ass, Nick. And I was like, okay, so obviously he's just giving him the information of where to go for Tim to take out. And I loved that Nick Fury just showed up with the son already, like just being like, I'm not an idiot. Like,
Yeah.
no one calls
No
me
one
Nick
says
Bob. So yeah, basically what I found great about this scene was the tension of like Nick Fury being like, we gotta get the code. I don't like what's going on here, and Talos trying his best to be like, look, don't want to kill you, you're a Skrull. And Bob Skrull just being like, I fucking hate you, man. Like, you're the worst. You're working with the humans. We gotta kill them. They're the worst. And at one point, Nick just being like, shut up. Like, what's happening here?
It's so funny because it's just like Nick being immediately like, you see why I don't negotiate?
Yeah,
like you get nowhere.
This
is stupid.
Just...
Like, let's try it your way. We're wasting time. This is dumb.
Talos kills the guy, and I'm just like, wow. Even Nick Fury is like, excuse me, what just happened? Like, he doesn't say anything. I think it's a look, and he's just like, whoa, okay.
He's like, yeah, I've crossed that line. I ain't going back. At this point, it's a better story about Talos,
right? Like, there's like,
oh yeah, 100%.
Yeah, they're really, yeah. This episode is Talos strong, but it's just like, yeah, like, what do you like? I'm trying to save you, and you're just gonna shit on me to my face like this. This is stupid. And then, he feels comfortable doing that because he can just call Gaia and be like, just search his memories for the thing. We don't actually need him.
Yeah, he's at war mode right now.
Yeah.
That
and
you know,
what Nick
that
Fury told him, like, you're
he's
gonna
taking
have to
that
hurt
point.
some people if you want to save the rest of your
100%. And to me, like, this is why I like Talos's character's progression. Like, for those people that are like, nothing's happening, I'm like, pay attention to Talos's character's progression way more, because his character is actually taking in the data. He's changing. He's doing the things. He's standing up for himself. He's more interesting if those people need that, like, he's the guy that's being the badass moment right now, because he's doing it. He's doing the thing, right? He's getting shit done. He's calling people out. I wouldn't say that's villain stuff. That's just him standing up for himself. But if they want that energy of villain energy of I'm doing my own thing, I'm being a badass, watch Talos, because he's doing it all. It's awesome. But I mean, the negotiation thing is a knock against that argument. But in terms of character progression, 100%. That thing is still funny though.
Yeah, so they get the code. They call off that strike. The code was the son's name. That was a nice little touch.
Yeah,
and they're outside, and
there's a few movie references in there, isn't there? It's just like Hunt for Red October, as well as the password being like it's really it's too on the nose.
And so then Samuel Jackson's kind of like, must really kill you to like work with me, knowing that you agree with Gravik. And I like that this was kind of clear to me in the first episode. And, but again, showing the distance Nick Fury has from these people closest to him. Talos, really still don't get it after all this time. Like, I'm not with him because I'm with you.
Yeah.
And I just like that he takes that information in.
Yeah, it's wild to me, because it's still, again, Nick really realizing that he doesn't have the information that he thought, because he clearly is like, hey, I know Talos, like, everything I need to know about him. And it's like, no, here's the other dimensions that you didn't know. There's a million of us.
And I do like that he said, okay, explain it to me, because he could have just been like, I know you, and like, because they've had like that pushback already, but he was just like, okay, explain it to me then. But yeah.
I do like the quip where Talos gets to go like, don't ever change.
Yeah, when he's like, hey, how are you doing, Nick Fury? And he's like, oh, or how are you doing, Fury? And he's like, just worry about your own damn self.
Yeah, it's like, don't ever change. And like, that's great, because so far he hasn't. And I'm like, this is the bad guy thing. They don't want to change. This is bad guy stuff.
So
sorry,
then,
people.
we see Gaia trying to escape. She doesn't. Gravik shoots and kills her. And I think, if you're watching this and you only know what happens in these first 3 episodes, and to be clear, I don't know what happens in the next episode. I've just seen things that, like the trailers that show her doing more stuff. But they were Marvel trailers, and they are not afraid to put stuff in the trailers that don't actually happen in the final product.
It's not fun to have Marvel ruin that own little cliffhanger. right there.
I mean, they did it in this episode too, when they were like,
Yeah.
there was a cliffhanger about him knowing a few, but we're not really interested in that. So I think if you're
It's true.
good at watching the show, you might be like, maybe she's not dead. And
Yeah.
again, I'm not saying that because I've read anything that says she isn't. It's just, you know, the show doesn't really want to hang on to the cliffhangers. I thought one ended well, but
True.
maybe they haven't really stuck the landing on making it like interesting week to week in that sense. I like the shows, but like if you're gonna just right away be like, no, he knows he's married to a Skrull, then why not just put that in that episode? You don't need to like make people wait a week for that. But yeah,
so
I can say that a true knock against the show would be that they killed off Gaia in episode 3.
If that do be how they play the cards,
I would say if they're not, it's still kind of in poor form to try and even make you feel like that's what they're doing.
Exactly, because then it's just like, my issue is, okay, she's going to come back towards maybe the end of the episode, and then we're just like, okay, she's got powers. Yeah, it's a big reveal, except it's not, because how would it be that she came back? It's just like, oh, she's doing the thing. She's playing dead. That's what she's doing. She's trying to convince Gravik that she's dead more than anything else.
Because they made a point of being like, she gets shot, and you know they're really dead because they revert back to Skrull, and you hear it and then they show it. So it's like, oh, like you're like fucking with. If she gets up, let's say, you'd be like, oh, well, why did you were manipulating us instead of genuinely having like that's a manipulation. Like you're not telling the story in an organic way. Then now you're just trying to fuck with us.
Well, I mean, like I said, that's why she's trying to play dead, because then Gravik would be like, hey, you didn't turn back, like, because he watched her turn back and all that kind of stuff. He shot her, right? So that's why I'm saying she played dead for him, not and what I'm for saying us.
Is this is not about character. This is about how they've made their show.
Yeah, and I agree with you. It's
still
a bad knock, but it's
even if they say, oh, she was playing dead.
It's like, yeah, that's the convenient timing then, you jerks, because it's just not how it's going to be. Just show us she took a container then of something. But I mean, she was standing there alone at some point, right?
It's not about
lab kind of thing.
It's not about whether or not it makes sense once they explain how she makes lab. It's about how they packaged it.
True. Yeah, that's 100%. Yeah, because it's meant to be a curveball right now.
Yeah,
and it's just no.
And
that's
to have
just
a week of people being like, "Oh, I can't believe she died." Like, that's what I mean about the manipulation. It's not. Yeah. It is not an organic. Like, they killed Maria Hill, so having that week of people be like, "Holy fuck, can you believe?" Like, that means something more than like
100%.
End of episode 2. Hey, shit, does he know he's married to a girl? Yep. And whatever happens with this, I would say again, not as great as the ending as the first episode.
No, first episode definitely had a bigger shocker. 100%.
And then so that's not the final scene. The scene the final scene is, what does he call it? Like a security box or whatever. Like when you have to go to the bank and they give you a key and you.
The lockbox.
Yeah.
Or security.
Priscilla goes to get the lockbox and it's a gun.
Stupid gun.
She calls.
It's just a stupid gun.
No, but it's the phone call that matters. It's not the gun.
I know, but it's just I hate it.
The gun. She's like, I wanted to talk to Gravik, and Rhodey's like, well, you're talking to me, so meet me here. And you're like, okay. And earlier, I thought I misheard it, but very clearly he said, I've got a line on a high up in the American government thing. So it's like, okay, he's on to Rhodey. I was like, doesn't he mean this Commodore guy? But no, he meant Rhodey. So,
you mean Shooter McGavin?
He's not in the government. He's a political pundit.
I know. He's a Steve Bannon type. Whatever. Yeah.
So yeah, he's or not even Steve Bannon, because that guy was like a.
Well, he had actual influence over shit.
No, he's like
someone that's Carlson. Less seriously. That's a good one. Yeah. Yes. Okay.
Yeah, he's a political pundit, but like he. So he's on to Rhodey, and I guess, as I said last episode, like I'm pretty sure Rhodey is a Skrull, and I'm hoping he is because of the way he was talking to Nick Fury, and people point out he called him Nick during that conversation, and that he
Ooh,
also
I didn't
was
notice
like,
that.
"Hey, we should bring the Avengers on." And I saw people being like, "Oh, what a flimsy excuse by Nick Fury to be like, no, don't bring them." I'm like, "Oh, so you missed the point of that interaction. The point was to have Rhodey, who's already an Avenger and could have just done it himself, being like, hey, maybe we should bring in the Avengers. And,
Yeah.
what do you think if we get them so we can start that cloning process?"
It's true because it's like, are we all forgetting that he is one of them? I mean, I'm sure
if he's
9 to
not,
5,
he's
he's
working
more
for
U.S.
them.
government, sure, but he's at least he's got their numbers.
Yeah,
He's got their cell phone numbers.
So that's betrayed. Is it called betrayed or betrayal? I don't know.
Yeah. All in all, not a great ending because of the Emilia Clarke thing.
Yeah, I'm not a fan of that Emilia Clarke ending.
Don't like the fridging thing. Please write better female.
Yeah, like you got your
stories.
one already.
Yeah, I know this show is interested in Nick Fury, but I mean, write your female characters better. It's not good. I don't like this.
All right, well, that's that. We'll be back next week for episode 4, whatever that's called. Thank you very much for listening. We're part of the That Shelf Podcast Network with other great shows like Bad Gay Movies, Contra Zoom Pod, Springfield Googleplex. So please go to thatshelf.com. You'll find those shows, our show, more shows. We're on all the podcast platforms. So please rate, review, subscribe, share with your friends, follow, do all that great stuff. And if you want to get in touch with us, we are on Twitter, Instagram, and now Threads at TDF Spoiled. And we are, what's that called? Go to tdfeverything.com/spoiledrotten for older episodes, please. That would be great.
The OG, the website.
Getting it from the source. Is that everything I say? That's probably everything. So I'm probably missing something, but it's okay. We'll be back next week and I'll get it all right properly.
Yeah.
All right.
Cheers. Bye-bye.
This has been a TDF Everything production, brah.